Hey, Vic and Gordon.
It's working, by gollies.
Hello, Jeremy.
How are you, gentlemen?
We're doing great. How are you, Jeremy?
I'm glad. I'm doing well, just on the heels of a Zoom meeting that Mike's family does each week, and
Okay.
he and John will be joining us after a quick bathroom break.
Okay. All right.
And yeah, I guess Robert Mason couldn't find the link to join us last month, and that's why we missed him. So I
Yeah.
I didn't know that until yesterday.
I didn't miss him because went off the air. I told Teresa we probably didn't pay the electric bill.
Yeah, you were just on for the first few minutes, Vic, and
Yeah. Okay. One time out for me, just a moment.
Just read my message there.
Yes, that's it.
That it?
That's it.
Okay.
Okay. I'm working with my daughter here on getting prepared for another Zoom meeting Thursday when we're going to do some revision on some bylaws for our group.
for the historical society.
Well, it's a Division Street School, but it's something separate from the Historical Society. There's Robert Mason. Hello, Robert.
No email.
Hey, Robert.
There he is. Hi there.
Hello.
We missed you last month.
I had
missed you guys too.
I had a really bad night last night, so you guys are going to have to put up with me. I stayed out till 9 o'clock at night, and it's working on me even today.
That's good.
Oh gosh. But John, how's things over across the big water?
Oh, still very quiet. Everybody's obeying the rules and staying home mostly, except for the tourists. They're flying in and clogging up the beach.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of people are getting tired of all the virus, and they're beginning to relax and let their
I can understand that, but I don't understand the people that stand up and yell and say, "Oh, you're violating my God-given rights." I
That's
got
right.
to spread all the COVID
Now,
virus.
luckily, we don't live in Michigan, or I don't know, all of us may have been a member of that militia group trying to take the governor as a prisoner.
It's come to that.
Strange things.
That's really, really, really tough. I don't know if it's really fix it.
Now, Jeremy, where are you located right now?
I'm in South Bend.
You're still in South Bend. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that real gold on the dome at Notre Dame?
Allegedly.
Allegedly, that's real gold on top of that dome.
I wouldn't want to be responsible for maintaining that. I'm sure it's, quite a specialty to take care of it.
Okay.
Well, it's the copper we have to worry about here. People are tearing down storm drains and wiring and everything there to sell the copper.
Oh boy, yeah. Yeah. Sometimes people make a mistake and they cut into hot wire. That stops that business.
Oh, the problem a couple of years ago, somebody tried to steal some wire, they thought, and they took out the Super Bowl.
Oh shoot, really?
For the whole half of the island.
Woo.
That upset people a little bit.
Gordon, I've got something here that is dated February 1952. It's the Englishman, the monthly or maybe semi-monthly, I'm not sure, newsletter, only it's a news booklet that went out to everyone. Got some interesting stuff in it. I think maybe your name was mentioned in your conversation. Oh, look at this. Okay. Read that? Gossip. There's a gossip page in here. Open the page up. What is this we hear about Patty B and a certain senior boy? Who is Patty B? There weren't very many senior boys. There were only 4 of us. Patty B, I don't know who that would have been. Jeremy, do you know? No, Jeremy wouldn't know.
No
And
idea.
it seems that Margie has an interest in Milltown now. What happened to Paoli, we wonder? Margie Baker, I'm sure, who married Richard Johnson. What is this we hear about Ronnie Denbo going to Paoli instead of Tell City? Who is she, Ronnie? Sandaloo. What is this we hear about you and Tyler's Grill? Sandaloo Roberts. Diane Flanigan's interests are centered on the 8th grade. His initials wouldn't be BC, would they, Diane? Any idea, John?
No, I have no idea.
Hello, Michael Pale.
Victor
Good seeing you, Michael.
Megenity.
That's right, buddy.
How you doing?
I'm reading some gossip from 1952.
52.
52. I don't know whether you're in here or not. I just read one about Diane Flanigan was interested in some boy by the initials of BC. I don't know who that would have been. Who is that we see Earl Pavey sitting by at the ball games? Love is certainly grand, isn't it, Earl? Remember Earl Pavey?
I remember the name. Don't remember much about him.
He married Winnie Goldman.
Oh, he married Winnie Goldman. Okay. We're glad to hear that Della Mae's thoughts return to Salem. Well, true love never runs smooth. She found out true love didn't run smooth, didn't she, Gordon?
No, it didn't.
Because they ran into marital troubles from probably early on. Well, Lois and Novi are still a steady twosome. Novi, I don't know.
Gillett.
Novi Gillett? Don't know who that
Novi Dyke.
could have, I bet it was.
Novi Crawford.
Or Novi Crawford, one of the two. Bob, you've been away from there longer than the rest of us. You can remember. Winnie sure was cheering for Leavenworth at the game the other night. We all wonder why. Winnie Goldman, I guess. I don't know any other Winnies at the school. Mary Lou, don't you like soldiers anymore? You don't daydream like you used to. Ruth Gilmore seems to be popular with the Navy now. Who was that handsome sailor at the Orleans game? That's one of our classmates, Gilmore. Donald C. seems to think Vivian's billfold is interesting. Now, how about that, Donald? Now, Donald Connard, Vivian Goss, maybe? Probably. See, Jeremy, there were so few people at English High School that a first name usually is just one person.
Sure. And so this was a newsletter put out by the high school students.
Yeah, the senior class was responsible for putting these out. Okay, I'll tell you what Gordon's job was. Gordon, do you remember what your job was?
No.
You were in charge of not goats, jokes, and you were the class reporter. You were in charge of jokes. I was the sports reporter. Ronald Dembo was business manager. Jeannie Bunk was editor and in charge of editorials. And Don Conrad, he was the machinist and ad printer. machinist turned the crank on the mimeograph machine. That was the machinist. Okay, we got finished with this page. It seems Betty Young has no interest in the Army instead of the 8th grade. Got any letters lately, Betty? I don't remember her. Do you guys? Betty Young?
I don't.
We wonder why Bobby Joe walks the floor so much lately. Could you have a Ford in your future? Bobby Joe Sears. Remember Bobby Joe Sears?
Yes.
Now, another quick question. Most of the girls and a lot of the boys went by first name and middle name. Della Mae, Doris B, Mary Edith, and on and on and on. Now, Diane, did she go by middle name, John?
Oh.
I don't think she did she? But
I don't think she had a middle name, did she, Mike? I think Diane and Pat both were without middle names, as I recall.
Really? Now, how about an update on Diane, John?
An update? Well, she's long gone.
Oh, shoot, that's right. That's right. How long ago was that?
Oh, 2 or 3 years at least.
Okay.
4 maybe.
I guess I didn't get caught up with that. She was always very friendly, a nice young lady.
Yeah.
Okay, why are all the girls so sad lately? Could it be they missed 2 senior boys? Gordon and Vic were in the hospital when this was turned out.
Everybody needs a
Uh-oh. I lost my Zoom, Teresa. I hit something.
You touched something?
I touched something. Hold on, guys.
We can still see and hear you.
Oh, you can? Okay, I couldn't see you guys.
You can't see anything?
Hey, maybe that's good if I can't see you. No, wait a minute.
No, the other way around.
Ah, there we are. Thanks, Teresa. I'm here at my daughter's, and
Troubleshoot.
she's my troubleshooter. Gordon and I, unfortunately, after a basketball game at Shoals, Indiana, sometime in late January, early February, my brother Doug went to the coach and said, Coach Dodson, would it be okay if Gordon, Joe Tyler, and my brother Vic rode back with me in my new Oldsmobile?
Wasn't Joe, it was Mo.
Oh, it was Mo.
Mo Roberts.
Are you sure of that? Okay, it was Mo Roberts.
Yeah.
All right. And unfortunately, Coach Dodson said, well, yeah, that's okay. Doug's a responsible person. So on the way back toward Paoli, we went around the curve, and Doug got it off the edge of the road and jerked the wheel hard to the left. And the car skidded and turned over 2 or 3 times. So Gordon got a knee pretty well banged up. I got a ruptured kidney. We were out for maybe a week or so. I don't remember exactly how long, but Gordon had a good time at the little bitty Paoli hospital, didn't you, Gordon? As the high school girls would walk right past that hospital, just a couple blocks from the high school, Gordon would greet them sometimes out on the roof, wave to them, and they'd wave back. They thought that was pretty neat. I didn't have the get up and go to get out on the roof.
We were in a 4-bed ward, and one night a man died. Remember that?
Oh gosh, I forgot.
Right next to the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Gordon didn't think you had your knee bandaged up, I think, and then went back to school and dropped the dictionary on it.
Well, I was back to visit you because I was coming back to get the dressing changed on the knee.
Oh.
And you recall that it broke open and bleeding all over the place.
That's right.
The doctor came up and without anesthetic started cutting down where it'd been healing for maybe 2 weeks or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think my fingerprints are still in that bed.
Okay.
And, and then after that, he bandaged it up and he said, "I'll see you tomorrow morning in surgery."
Oh boy.
And the surgery was in a converted coal bin in the basement. That was a 3-story building, an old converted residence.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that the operating room was dirty. It wasn't, but it had been a coal bin.
COVID. Oh my gosh. Well, the surgery worked, didn't it?
It worked, yeah. But when he sewed it up, he had missed one of the blood vessels, and it was bleeding and building up dead blood behind my kneecap.
Oh boy.
And
Oh boy.
it was very painful, very.
I imagine. Okay, and the last one, Mary Ruth was seen buying some airmail envelopes. We bet Cliston gets a lot of letters. Cliston Corbett, down around Eckerty. Yes. Mary Ruth, don't know who that. Any idea who Mary Ruth was?
Mary Ruth?
Mary Ruth. Not sure who that was.
Yeah, Mary Ruth, what was her name? She married the banker.
She married the guy that worked in the bank, and the guy that worked in the bank was in your class.
Tony.
Tony, that's right. That's right. Okay. I'll rest, man. There's more stuff in here, but.
You know, we've talked about some of the people from those days, and one of the people we haven't mentioned is Benny Coleman. What a memory that guy had.
Benny was special.
He knew the birthdays of every guy who ever played basketball.
He did.
Or baseball.
Yeah.
And he loved his beer, didn't he?
Yeah.
He would go in the Green
Quite a
Lantern. And now I was told this, of course, I never went in the Green Lantern. He'd order a beer and drink it down in one big gulp. Walk out the door. No, I will.
I wondered one time whether Benny might have photographic memory, and handed him a newspaper one time and asked him to read a paragraph. So he read it, and then I took it back, and then I asked him questions about it. And he repeated it to me, word for word, but he didn't understand what it was about.
Oh, really?
But he remembered the words.
Oh, darn. Huh.
So he was quite a savant. He was what back in the old bad days we called them idiot savants. Now we call them autistic savants.
Okay.
But I don't think he was autistic. He just had this memory quirk that replaced part of his brain that otherwise might have made him act normally. But he was.
I think the best movie I've ever seen on that topic was Rain Man. I think
that was kind of exaggerated because they piled a whole bunch of different people all into one. But yeah, that was good.
Right.
John, did you ever learn how to use a linotype machine?
I was never good at it.
Okay.
Mike was the linotype operator. I was always getting distracted by something, and I'd let something go wrong, and then I'd have to clean the mess up. No, I was never good at that.
And Michael, you ran the linotype machine?
Be careful, Mike's going to tell the story again if you don't watch out.
What did you ask?
Did you use the linotype machine in the printing shop?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I made lots of money with that linotype machine.
You did?
Back in the old, what they called the hot metal days.
Yep.
I was fast and I was accurate, so I had no trouble finding jobs.
Now, did you go to the linotype school in English?
No, I did not. I learned the system myself when I was after John went to the Air Force. I was we'd work there at the school, and I would sit down with nobody else in the school on Saturday and put the manual up there, and I learned the figuring system of Milo Bennett.
How about that?
Yeah,
Now, I'll tell you one thing. My oldest brother, Bob,
yeah.
he was forever thanking you, Michael. Do you remember why he was so happy to meet you up around Washington, D.C.?
I think if I recall, you know, when he was working at some print shop in, I don't know, Jeffersonville or someplace,
Yeah.
and they closed down, and he
That's right.
lost his job, and I told him to go down, I think, to Fort Knox, wasn't it?
That's correct. He went,
And he got a job at Fort Knox, and it was forever thankful to me.
Oh, you don't know how many times he said, boy, I thank the world of Mike Flanigan. He helped me get that job at Fort Knox. And he stayed there until he finally retired.
Yeah.
And when he retired, they took the big old hot lead machine out, and they didn't know what they were going to do with it, because that was about 20 years ago or so. And the end of those kinds of machines were long gone. They just didn't, they were using computers, of course, by then.
That's right. Yeah.
And I don't know, I think there's one in the Smithsonian Institute now, but I watched those operate. Now, the people that operated those a lot, they were around hot lead, and those lead fumes were coming out. What do you think? Do you think that affected some people maybe?
It may have, but I mean, it couldn't have been good for him.
I couldn't have.
Well, Mike and I would melt the lead down every weekend, and we'd breathe those fumes for months. And one time I was talking with my doctor, and I mentioned the fact that I had been subjected to lead fumes for all my childhood. And so he gave me a test. He tested my blood to see if there was any lead in it. Found nothing.
Oh,
So
really?
it didn't affect us.
I remember one time we were down on the Little Blue River, and somebody yelled at you to get the lead out. So we already had it out, I guess. We were on our way back, and I know I've told this story many times, but I still enjoy telling it. John fell and twisted his ankle. He had the worst sprained ankle I ever saw. We were way down on the Little Blue River, and guess what? He was graduating from high school 1 or 2 days later.
Right.
And he's the only one I ever saw get his diploma on crutches. Now, there could have been others, but anyway, there was somebody else with us. We had to help him all the way down the railroad track. We walked the railroad track down. Took us no telling how long. We finally got him back, and I think he went to Pooch Gobble, and there wasn't anything he could do but bandage it up a little bit. You got some crutches someplace. You were set for graduation.
Vic, I'd like to add a little bit to your story of the wreck that Doug had. That was February 15th, 1952, about 10:30 at night.
Oh, okay.
And his Oldsmobile was black over red. On February 15th of 1953, 10:30 at night, I got T-boned in Evansville, Indiana, by a black over red old 88.
Was it Doug?
It totaled the car that I had owned for 8 days.
Oh, shoot.
And it hurt the same knee.
Oh, shoot, really?
So I said on February 15th, 1954, I'm going to stay in bed. On January 27th, 1954, I was riding at 10:30 at night with a guy named Vic Megenity.
Uh-oh.
And we had a little race going on with another car. And so, not to be outdone, Vic rolled his car.
Yeah.
And it threw him out as the car turned over, and he kicked me in the face on the way out and knocked me out. Vic was running when he hit the pavement. He ran into a clay bank, and he was wearing a suede jacket, and he hit it with his elbows, and there was mud that deep on each elbow. Luckily, no limestone there. When I came to, he was slapping me in the face, saying, "Wake up." And I suggested he not hit me anymore. But you talk about coincidences. That was amazing.
Oh boy. Well, some things we like to keep in past history.
Oh, I thought you'd want to talk about that, Vic.
No, not really. Okay. Who had the best physique in, wait a minute now. Oh, this is a voting page. Best physique in English high school. Was it Ronnie Dimbo, Eugene McMail, or Jim Moss? I don't know who won that one. The most studious girl, Carol Scott, Doris B., or Della Mae? Steadiest couple, Eugene and Bertie Baker, Denny and Sybil Smith, Gene and Ernie Scouton. Who would Gene be? Not sure.
Don't know. Gene Miller, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Most popular boy, Ryan Dimbo, Eugene McMail, Jim Moss. Best dressed boy, Vic Megenity, Ernie Scouton, or Eugene McMail. We didn't have any extra clothes at all. Old pair of blue jeans. I don't get that. The prettiest teeth on a girl. Doris B., Ferguson, Carol Scott, Della Mae Starr. Now, is Carol Scott moved? I think she married somebody from Leavenworth, I think.
She married Billy Austin.
Billy Austin.
Right.
That's right. I wonder if Carol's still living.
I think
Alexa.
so.
Okay. One more thing in here I wanted to share with you in this wonderful little book, magazine, newspaper. Oh yeah, here's Raiders roll over Bearcats. Raiders mauled by Devils. Oops, I didn't want to read that one. English Pops tourney. Okay, we won the Crawford County tourney that year.
I was talking with somebody yesterday, and it just turned out that I ended up with the question, when did Larry Bird play for French Lick? What years?
Boy, I don't know that for sure. Does anybody else know?
And while he was playing there, did English play them? Because I was gone all that time, so I don't remember anything about it.
Now that wasn't Springs Valley then, was it? Or
No,
maybe it was. Remember West Baden and French Lick combined and called it Springs Valley.
Oh, when did that? I don't know about that.
Well,
I think Bird played for French Lick. I never heard
Okay,
Springs Valley mentioned.
I think you're probably right. I'm not sure. Oh, by the way, English always had a school play, a senior class play. Well, there were 8 seniors, 5 boys and 3 girls. Yeah. So Miss Graybill had trouble finding a play. She finally found it, and called, what was it called? Okay, Nearly 16 was the name of the play. It's a fast-moving comedy of youth in 3 acts. So it doesn't show who played what, but we all had a part. You've been on stage since then, Gordon, in a play?
No.
Not me.
No. I've been in more courtrooms than plays.
Yeah. I bet you have. Gordon, tell us just a little bit about, in 1 minute, what your job was, your main job in life.
It's been a number of things. I was an examiner for the Indiana financial institutions. I was examining savings and loan associations. Then I went to the Federal Home Loan Bank Board, to the federal side. Then I went to the Federal Home Loan Bank of Indianapolis. I was there 20 years. And I was supervisory agent for the Federal Savings Loan Insurance Corporation for all the insured savings and loans in Indiana and Michigan.
Okay.
But I've done important work too, like digging ditches and shoveling manure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's grunt work. Okay. All right. Now, Eugene McMail was the editor of this, so he was in charge of editorials. And I want to read one to you here. This is from Eugene McMail. In regard to a comment about our school paper, we shall discontinue sending Paoli a copy unless we get an appropriate apology. Although our paper is not up to par, we are very limited to our equipment, not information, news, jokes, gossip, etc., but equipment by which you print, mimeograph, so forth. We have our material. Okay, that was it. So he was really chastising Paoli. Apparently, Paoli made some negative comment about this wonderful paper we were putting out. I guess they didn't get any more of our papers.
Serves them right.
Yeah, it really does.
And why didn't the Flanagans help in printing a quality publication?
Good question. I don't know. Probably they weren't asked.
I was just about to say, I don't remember ever being asked.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be a cool activity, right?
Yeah, and probably it made more sense for us to do it, even though it was in this fadey blue ink that is still fading out after all these years. But dug this out of a box I had of stuff, and pretty interesting to go through there. There's a lot of good information in there, especially in gossip page. Michael, when's the last time you played tennis?
What? Last time I did what?
Played tennis.
Oh, I don't know. It's been several years ago.
Yeah,
I used to play all the time.
Yeah, I know you did.
I miss it.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I started losing my balance. One time I went to the remember in Paola, there was a bowling alleys. I went there and tried to bowl. The first time I rolled that ball, I fell down flat.
Oh, shoot.
And I couldn't understand why I did. So I tried it again and I fell flat again. So that was the end of my bowling.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was in Virginia. That was in Annandale. But when you were younger, you bowled in Paola, right?
Well, that could be.
Yeah. English had a little bowling alley. Do you remember it, John?
I remember that. Yeah, I bowled my second highest game there one night. I started bowling and I wasn't doing any good. So finally, the last game that I rolled, I just started aiming right for the one pin, expecting the ball to drift off one side or the other. And after getting a spare, I got 9 straight strikes. And while I was bowling strikes, people started paying attention. They'd watch me when I went up and everybody would be quiet and I'd bowl and it'd be another strike. So they thought I was going for a perfect game until one guy came over and looked at the score and he made a strike. He made a spare the first time. Everybody lost interest in it.
Well,
And I don't know what my score was because we didn't know how to calculate
yeah.
when to strike out, right? We didn't know how to add those things up. So I've always thought it was 240, but I think we may have double counted some of the pins. So I probably didn't get that much of it. Yeah.
Granddad, what would a score be if you bowled a spare in the first frame and strikes for the rest of the 10 frames?
Well, you bowlers, help me out. You'd have 30 points for every frame except the first one. So it would be, that'd be a 290, right?
280. 280, wouldn't it?
280 or 290? Wouldn't you get 30 points for every frame except the first one? And 20 for that one?
That's right.
No.
I don't know. I never was much of a bowler. I could bowl, but the highest game I ever bowled was in Japan while I was waiting to get shipped over to Korea at Futu. Went to the bowling alley there. And I don't know why. I got hot. I was just doing wonderful throwing, you know, brand new. I hadn't bowled for years and just doing that for pastime, and everything was working right. So that was a good one. I did get a 284, I think, on that one.
Well, what did you do there then? If that was your best game,
what did I do?
Well, if your best game was better than a spare followed by all strikes,
followed by all strikes was not quite right. I didn't strike the very last ball.
Ah.
But I got nothing to brag about in bowling. My sport was ping pong.
I was just asking Granddad about that the other day, about when you guys first got a ping pong table, or even before you got one, where you first got the idea to play ping pong.
Oh boy, Dad and Uncle Carl were competitors. And we had a ping pong table in the basement of the house. And the house that's right below Paula's house. Mm-hmm. And Mike and I would get up on chairs so we could reach the table. Remember that, Mike?
You know, it has been said that ping pong should be spelled backwards so it would demonstrate the sound, gnip, gnup.
Speaking of ping pong, at Cardin High School, they had 2 ping pong tables in the hallway by the gymnasium, and everybody, there was a group of boys that came to the school at 8 o'clock in the morning and to play ping pong till school started at 8:30.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a good game.
Then, of course, they played at noon too.
I was pretty sad when I lost my ping pong eye. I came back from Samoa one time and played against one of my nephews, and he just creamed me. I had all the moves except the ball just wasn't hitting the table.
I got in trouble. I think I was freshman in high school. I hitchhiked to Grantsburg. You know where Grantsburg was, Gordon?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah. And now what was I hitchhiking to Grantsburg for? I stopped at the filling station on the right before you went into Grantsburg. What did they have for sale there, maybe? That I couldn't get in English.
I don't remember.
Firecrackers.
Oh, yeah.
Firecrackers. They were selling them. Now, they were pretty strict on where you could buy firecrackers in those days. I had enough money to buy 4 or 5 packs of Black Cat firecracker.
Was that from the filling station?
At the filling station, yeah. So I took him back to school, and I mean, me here, I was a freshman. I was letting him throw him out in the playground at noon. And kaboom, kaboom. Idini Hobson, the principal, called me up, and I think Spittin' Herman was there too, the superintendent. Somebody gave him a nickname, Spittin' Herman. Because when he'd get mad, he would have a flow of sputum coming out of his mouth.
He needed to wear a mask.
You need to wear a mask, that's right.
To say that there were other students at English that were more respectful of their elders.
That's right. Right. Anyway, he made me confess, and I did it very, very readily because I was scared. And when I was in the office, big wide open office that's set up on a high level, I was trying to keep my voice down because my dad was teaching right next door, and he had the doors were open. I remember that, and so I told him I don't know whether my dad ever found out. I don't think he did, or he would have really nailed me. But I had to tell where I got him. I said, "Yeah, I hitchhiked out, bought some packs, and I had maybe a pack or so left in my." I laid them out. I said, "I don't need those anymore." It scared me. And I thought, sure, he was going to tell my dad. I don't believe they did. Idina and Spittin' Herman. I don't think so.
Did the Howletts own that service station at that time? You remember Clyde Howlett and his brother?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think that was a little later when they owned it.
I think it was. Clyde wound up moving to Evansville, and he was friends with Bud Joe Eastridge and Marilyn that Bud Joe married. And that a little while after he got out of high school, he was helping his dad put a roof on, and he hit a nail and it flew back somehow and it destroyed one eye. He had one blind in one eye. He died many, many years ago. I don't know what his cause of death was. I remember he and I didn't have a car back then, but he did, 49 Ford. And he had a date with, I believe, Margie Baker. And I had a date with Marilyn Roberts, one of the cutest girls that came through English. Bless her heart. And we went someplace, and he said, "Vic, I'd give anything if we could switch dates." I said, "Well, I don't think that's going to work out too well." And anyway, Bud Joe came to the rescue and swept Marilyn off her feet, and away they went.
Bud Joe's deceased, but is Marilyn still living?
Yeah. Bud Joe passed away probably 8 or 9 years ago, and Marilyn passed away maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But they were the stereotypical high school sports hero and cheerleader.
Cheerleader. Yeah, she was a cheerleader, a good cheerleader at that, by the way. I never saw the rest of her body. I was watching her face and.
It's a small world. Man at church graduated from Evansville Harrison High School.
Yeah.
That's where Buddy Joe taught, wasn't it?
Well, now Buddy Joe he worked in the banking business, I think. I don't think he was ever a teacher. That makes sense. Gordon, do you remember?
I don't remember that. I don't think he was a teacher.
I don't think he was a teacher.
Okay.
Your brother Doug visited with them a lot, I know.
Yeah, yeah.
And they made 10 soldiers together. You're talking about the lead.
Oh.
They actually molded little 10 soldiers.
Well, now someone else that had that outfit was Mo Roberts. And Mo Roberts at one time lived just real close to me, a couple 100 yards away up on the hill there. And so we'd get, I don't know where we got our lead. Maybe it was from the English Publishing Company. I'm not sure, but we got hunks of lead. We melted them down and made soldiers. And I had a lot of those soldiers for a long time, but you know, they were spewing off fumes. It's kind of like what you did in high school with mercury, Gordon. You'd rub the mercury on dimes, nickels, and quarters and make them shine like new.
Right.
Good idea, was it?
Sure.
I'll tell you a real quick story on mercury. When I was teaching at Scribner, not that long ago, about 22 years ago, I guess, like that. I was in one classroom here, there was a science teacher here, a male science teacher, and a female science teacher here. One day I was teaching, and there's a little window in the door, and I saw something zip by, and I kind of looked, and then there was another, it looked like someone from Mars or outer space. It had a hazmat suit on. And somebody came along and said, nobody out in the hall, stay in. So the lady teacher next door had gone into equipment room, got a big, huge beaker of mercury, and was letting a lot of special ed students see how heavy it was. And one of them dropped it, exploded in the classroom. So she didn't know what to do. She ran around to the male science teacher and said, I do. And he said, 911. And then he also called superintendent office. So that was kind of a big deal. And she wasn't there the next year. They got rid of her. Poor judgment.
Vic, did you know Larry Baumgartel?
Oh, Larry Baumgartel sure did. Know him real well. Yeah. Yeah. Larry and I talked together for a good many years. How's his health holding up?
I haven't checked with him, but he has a arthritis or something like that, terribly bad.
Yeah.
Earlier today, I was reading up on an event that we were talking about, 1952, and things that happened. But one night we saw the ambulance, which was really the hearse, headed out of English, headed toward Birdseye. So Ronnie Denbo, Bob Goldman, and I got into Ronnie's car, followed the ambulance down to Birdseye. And there was a man in the road just off the highway who had been shot in the back of the neck, and it just blew his throat out.
Yeah.
And so the sheriff came over and asked Ronnie, would you take me down to this man's house so I can tell his mother that he's dead? Because he had ridden down there with the state trooper, Alan Grove. And so we all were in the car and went down to tell the mother that Frank Crockett had been killed. And Jim Sturgeon was the sheriff. When he walked up to the house, the door was open, and the top half was glassed, but it had been shot out. And the mother and the brother were both dead too.
Ooh.
And so then you remember Wendy Opal, the state trooper, the
Yes.
detective?
Yeah.
He came up from Jasper with a trunk load of guns and deputized everybody he could find.
Whoa.
Said, we're going to go find this guy. It turned out that the Buck Hollowell was the man who had shot the people. And he was on the barn. And as Wendy Opal started walking toward the barn, Buck Hollowell said, don't take another step or I'll shoot you. And he tried to talk him out of it. Didn't work. They later found him dead. He had taken rat poison. And all that was, you talk about just weird things that happen. Bob Goldman had found a billfold on the English high school grounds. Frank Crockett had been attending the vocational ag classes that they had for the veterans.
Yep.
And Frank had lost his billfold, and Bob had found it and it had been returned to Frank Crockett. But Buck Hollowell was confronting him about it. And he said, said, "You accused me of stealing your billfold." And he said, "I understand you have it back. You got to apologize to me." And he killed him over it.
Oh boy.
It was really a night of tension.
Do John and Bob and Gordon, do you guys remember Bill Sowers?
Yes.
Bill Sowers?
Yes.
He was kind of a character. He ran for county coroner one time, and no one thought he had a chance of winning. This is back probably mid-50s. He won. He was coroner of Crawford County. He'd have to go out and rule what the cause of death was. So one time, somebody called him out. Here's a guy laying out in the yard with the gunshot wound. And somebody said, "Now, Bill, he's been saying he's going to take his own life, and it looks like he did it." So Bill wrote down suicide. No gun, no weapon around any place. You're just laying out in the yard with a gunshot wound. So obviously somebody killed him and got away with murder.
Cook Roberts was coroner while I was going with Maryland. So we had a lot of discussions that sometimes made me faint when he described some of the things that he had gone to.
And you know, strangely enough, both Cook and Moe worked together on that plane crash down there at Tell City. You know, the Northwest Orient crash.
Yep.
And
Lucky
Moe was there as a trooper, and of course Clyde was there as a coroner trying to identify bodies. And Moe told me about how gory it was to see the plane just nose straight down.
Yeah. Poor Monroe took all the tests and of course became the Indiana State Trooper, which not everybody can get in that particular job. He hadn't been in it very long, maybe 6 months to a year. And he went to church. He was living down Tell City or Evansville, one down that way. And the church people said, "Understand you're a state trooper, and do you have to carry a gun?" "Yes, sir."
Thank you.
Got to make a choice. We do not believe in guns of any kind. And you've got to, if you're going to stay a part of our church, you've got to decide, you've got to give up your gun. You have to give up his job. So Bob Roberts, that you guys had weeks ago, and Clyde Roberts met with him and did everything they could. You can ask Bob about that. Okay. This is a great opportunity for you. Don't do it. He went to the church and gave up his gun and resigned from being a state trooper. Then he started selling insurance. Now, Monroe's still alive, isn't he?
Yes, but he's not in good health.
He's in terrible.
I used to ride with him when he was a trooper down at Tell City.
Did you?
I was working for International Harvester at the time, and I would sometimes stay overnight there and ride along with him as he was patrolling. Such a great guy.
Yeah, he really was.
You remember State Trooper Guido Gibson?
Yeah.
He's my first cousin.
Is that right?
And you remember they were living in the house there on 5th Street next to the telephone office. And somebody shot in the bedroom window one night.
Oh, shoot.
They transferred him up north then.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Didn't he go to Bedford at one time?
I'm not sure about that.
Seems to me he did.
But he quit the state police, he became an insurance adjuster for automobile insurance company.
Well, one of Gordon and I love this one lady. We were just so in love with her. And a state trooper came along and snatched her right out of our grips and took her to Indianapolis. Remember who she was? Betty.
Betty.
Betty Lynn. Betty.
Yeah, I remember her. She was a teacher. She was
Yeah,
probably
English
about
teacher.
22 when we were seniors. We were about 18, and she was this gorgeous, wonderful looking lady.
Betty Lynch. Betty Lynch.
Betty Lynch. That's it. You remember her too, don't you,
Pretty
John?
big girl.
Yeah, I was downtown one time talking with her, and what was the trooper's name then? Anyway, he drove up and said, "You want to go for a ride?" And she said, "Sure." And he looked at me and said, "You want to come along?" So the two of us hopped in and drove around the county for a while.
Well, my gosh.
I'm sure he wanted me to say no, but
Probably. Now, the rumor was that Benny Dotson, the coach, kind of had his eye on her. And,
yeah, but she didn't have an eye on him.
Right.
Jake Zier and I went to visit Betty one time. After they were married, living in Plainfield, and had a couple of kids, and we had a nice visit. Kids were watching cartoons, and we visited with Betty, and just had a nice visit with her.
Floyd Tony,
yeah. Yep. Floyd Tony married my first cousin, Mildred Cummins. And funny little quick story about that. When my aunt passed away, that would have been Irene Cummins. You may remember her. She lived by the Christian church. So the funeral took place and we met at her house. It's probably been about 20 years ago. And there was Floyd's two daughters up from Evansville, Patty and I forget the other one's name. They were going through, now Mildred had passed away long ago. So it's just Floyd still living at Paoli. So one of the girls was going through a drawer in Grandma's bedroom. And she came out and said, "Dad, here's a letter addressed to you, and it's unopened." I saw it too at the same time Floyd did. It had big wings, addressee unknown, prisoner of war camp, a certain gulag place somewhere in Germany. He was a prisoner of the Germans. And it had been returned because the address, he wasn't at that address. Well, this was during the last stages of the war when they were moving prison camps out of the way of the Russians and the Americans both. I don't know which was which there. So Patty said, "Well, Dad, open it." So he opened it up. Now, this was from his wife in 1944, and this was about 20 years ago. Reading this letter there, he read it out loud. Here, Floyd Turney, this big, stout state trooper, tears started, said, "Dear honey, we all miss you." Just had one daughter then, whatever her name was. She misses you, and we want you to be safe, and a lot of things like that. And I couldn't believe that. He's just now reading the letter that was written to him at a prisoner of war camp in Germany long ago. Bob, your dad was a scout leader, wasn't he, in English? Do you remember that?
Yeah. Talking about prisoners of war, World War II, we had a neighbor here where we live now that was a prisoner of war, and they had him out on the farm, working on a farm, and he said that when the I don't know what you call the military wasn't around, that he sat at the table and ate with the farmer, just like
really.
But whenever the authorities come around, he was on bread and water.
Oh boy. Well, there were several people from the English area that were prisoners. Arnie Vogelsong's brother, right, Gordon?
Yes, Don
Vogelsong. Jackie Enlow out at Tazewell. Boy, Tony, of course. And then there's another one from English. Bobby Welch was a prisoner of war.
I think Don Vogelsong benefited by having the name Vogelsong. He worked in the kitchen, and he was able sometimes to get a little extra piece of bread, and sometimes he would bring it back and share it with others. And he had a tough time, but not nearly as bad as some of the other people.
Well, I asked Floyd if he was mistreated, and he said, no, not really. He said, we ate about the same food the guards ate. He said, the only time we got in trouble was when they were moving him from one prison camp to the other. They went through Berlin to change trains at a train station, and the guards walked away and let the civilians come up and beat them with sticks because bombs had been falling on their city. So
my youngest brother, Dale, married a German girl, and her father had been a German officer in World War II serving under Rommel. And he was a prisoner of war in Trinidad, Colorado. And he was treated well. And strangely enough, the guards treated him better than his neighbors when he got back home to Germany, because someone who had been a prisoner was not a hero, and they really didn't want to have anything to do with him because he'd been a prisoner.
Well, that's Trump's attitude about prisoners, right?
I got one more.
Okay, I see it's 12 o'clock, and my wife is giving me some looks, so I think I'll sign off. And
Okay, I'm going to hold this story for next time.
okay.
Good. Well, speaking of next time, it looks like the second Sunday of November is the 8th. So
8th of November.
The 8th of November. Same time, 5 p.m. Eastern, and the same link works every month.
Okay.
Gordon, are you in touch with Melvin Beasley?
I've got his phone number at home, but I don't.
Vic? Okay, I didn't remember but I don't have his email address. So since he didn't join us this week or this month, he joined the last 2 months, but maybe he forgot or maybe he was busy. But if you have a way of reminding him or send me his contact information, and I'll be happy to do it.
Okay.
So
All right,
gentlemen. We'll see you next month.
Okay, you take care of yourself, Mike Flanigan, Michael Pale. Take care of yourself.
All right, Victor Megenity.
Okay.
Take care of yourself.
All right, you guys take care.
Very interesting stories, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you.